Tubers, this is some new news. New news? It's almost like when you say doo-doo. I need to do what they did. What the doo-doo is. Sorry. Oh my gosh, I hate myself. Sorry guys. This is breaking news. They have released the transcript, I guess the end of life statement of Brian Laundrie. So I figured we'd read this. Those of you that have come on lately, or new to the channel, welcome. Please hit that subscribe. Let's get this sucker going. And you'll see that this, to me, wanted to do this because Gabby Petito is really my first coverage that started to pick up steam. And I started doing it because I couldn't stand the stuff that was coming up out of YouTube. I guess all that stuff, right? And it was, people were just making up these wild allegations. I was like, look, guys, in law school, they teach you it's the facts. And that's what you got to have for defense. But anyway, so I saw a lot of channel growth with that. And now the Brian's last words are out here. I figured we'd read them together. So, Brian Laundrie's Gabby Petito confession. And experts weigh in on admitted killer's claims. This is all lies. Gabby Petito murder, Brian Laundrie's notebook confession revealed I ended her life. Now, I'm going to go on and say, I don't, usually when I read things, I read them with you for the first time. So that way you get my natural reaction. I know it's unprofessional and I sound stupid. There's much more polished YouTubers you could go to. But I did read this confession because I looked at it and I was like, that's going to be hard to read. And not because of the emotional pull, but because Brian's writing. I mean, for a guy that read books, and I don't know how he had 20 grand in his bank account. I've never had 20 grand sitting around in my bank account. He writes almost like English isn't his first language. It's just, I don't know. It's weird. There is a picture of the actual notebook itself. You can see it's waterlogged. It also looks like one of those waterproof, out in the hiking type of notebooks. So he wanted this to be found, is what I would say. If this is a waterproof paper, who makes them? I forget. Anyway, you can, and there's a lot of them out there. This is his handwriting. His handwriting is nice, but as you'll see, we're going to go down to the letter. Now, here is a typed version of the letter here. Now, I don't know if this is this is from Fox News. I don't know if it's because they don't understand that typing, like, I don't know. I have no idea. But this is just, like I said, it's hard to read. We're going to make this a little bit bigger for you. Well, that didn't do it. There we go. All right. Let's do this. So he wrote the letter to Gabby. Gabby, I wish I was right at your side. I wish we could be talking. I wish I could be talking to you right now. I'd be going through every memory we've made, getting even more excited for the future. I can't live without you. I've lost every day we could have spent together. Every holiday. I'll never get to play with whoever again. Never go hiking with TJ. I loved you more than anything. I can't bear to look at our photos, to recall our great times, because it is why I cannot go on. When I close my eyes, I will think of laying on the roof of the van, falling asleep to the sight of a meteor shower at the Crystal Geyser. I will always love you. If you were reading Gab's journal, looking at the photos from our life together, flipping through old cards, you wouldn't want to live a day without her. Knowing that every day you'll wake up without her, you wouldn't want to wake up. I'm sorry to everyone this will affect. Gabby was the love of my life, but I know now adored, but I know adored by many. Sorry. I'm so sorry to her family because I love them. I consider her younger siblings my best friends. I'm sorry to my family. This is a shock to them as well as a terrible grief. They loved as much, if not more than me. A new daughter to my mother, an aunt to my nephews. Please do not make this harder for them. This occurred as an unexpected tragedy. Rushing back to our car, trying to cross the streams of Spread Creek before it got too dark to see, too cold. I hear a splash and a scream. I could barely see. I couldn't find her for a moment. Shouted her name. I found her breathing heavily, gasping my name. She was freezing cold. We had just come from the blazing hot national parks in Utah. The temperature had dropped to freezing, and she was soaking wet. I carried her as far as I could down the stream towards the car, stumbling, exhausted, in shock, when my knees buckled and knew I couldn't safely carry her. I started a fire and spooned her. Spooned her. It's just like, what type of terminology are you using? This is not the time you spoon somebody, right? As close to the heat, it was so thin, had already been freezing. Oh, she was so thin, had already been freezing too long. I couldn't at the time realize that I should have started a fire first, but I wanted her out of the cold back to the car. From where I started the fire, I had no idea how far the car might be. Only knew it was across the creek. When I pulled Gabby out of the water, she couldn't tell me what hurt. She had a small bump on her forehead that eventually got larger. Her feet hurt, her wrists hurt. She was freezing, shaking violently. While carrying her, she continually made sounds of pain. Laying next to her, she said little lisping between violent shakes, gasping in pain, begging for an end to her pain. She would fall asleep, and I would shake her awake, fearing she shouldn't close her eyes if she had a concussion. She would wake in pain, start the whole painful cycle again, while furious that I was the one waking her. She wouldn't let me try to cross the creek. Thought like me that this fire would go out in her sleep and she'd freeze. I don't know the extent of Gabby's injuries. Only that she was in extreme pain. I ended her life. I thought it was merciful, that it was what she wanted. But I see now all the mistakes I made. I panicked. I was in shock. But from that moment I decided to took away her pain. I knew I couldn't go on without her. I rushed home to spend my time I had left with my family. I wanted to drive north and let James or TJ kill me, but I wouldn't want them to spend time in jail over my mistake, even though I'm sure they would have liked to. I am ending my life not because of a fear of punishment, but rather because I can't stand to live another day without her. I've lost out whole future together. Every moment we could have cherished. I'm sorry for everyone's loss. Please do not make life harder for my family. They lost a son and a daughter. The most wonderful girl in the world. Gabby, I'm sorry. I have killed myself by this creek in the hopes that animals may tear me apart. That it may make some of her family happy. Please pick up all of my things. Gabby hated people who litter. So, what do you think? My thoughts going into this were that I would read the letter, and that would be the end of this video. That's all I wanted to talk about. Just put an end to it and put it back. But do you feel that way? Does this not read weird? I mean, just working it backwards. I mean, it should be Gabby hated people who litter. You know, like all the images of her from the angel wings and all that stuff, and whatever the tattoos were they had of her. Like, I just feel like Gabby hated people who litter is like the last words that anybody will remember about her. But just like I said, working backwards. I've killed myself by this creek. I thought it was a marsh. And hope that animals may tear me apart. I mean, that's like Disney type of understanding there. I mean, everybody knows the flies come first. I rushed home to spend any time I had left with my family. Any time I had left? What? Wasn't he seen like smiling and stuff? But this whole thing here, her feet hurt, her wrist hurt. Like, she was shaking violently. Like, there were no puncture wounds. People get concussions and continue to play football games. I mean, they don't anymore, but I mean, that's been a thing. I know we're all worried about concussions all the time, but I mean, it's a lot of people had concussions before everybody worried about them and ran to the hospital. I carried her as far down the stream as I could. She looked bigger than him. But here's something. Stumbling, exhausted, in shock. So he's saying that he was in shock. There's a couple things here. I started going in shock because I thought I was dying. And it is frightening. You don't go from being in shock to building a campsite fire. You're running in the dark. I don't know what happened here. If you're watching a meteor shower, that means it's clear skies. Does anybody know if the days in question, if there was a new moon? But I'll also tell you this, when you get close, if you have a near-death experience, you fight, man. You fight hard. The body does not want to die. That's why life is such a gift. You do not want to die. And you fight for all you've got. Man, it's hard, it's painful, and it hurts. This is just weird to me. this letter just seems weird. It seems like, one, it's almost like it was written by a child or somebody who, like I said, English isn't their first language. Let's see what else there is. So I read that letter and I felt sick. Because I was like, I don't have closure with that. Like, and that's the thing. Now, maybe this is the trait of a narcissist. You know, he's like, well, I was sympathetic to her. I mean, let me tell you what. I believe in natural death. Death is supposed to be hard. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if I even want to read the rest of this. He tiptoed around the confession. He wanted to serve it up as a mercy killing. That's the thing that's bugging me more than anything. I think that's it. It just eats at you, right? Even if Petito had experienced hypothermia before her death, her remains likely would not have shown such signs. Yeah, you wouldn't have been able to tell. What a turd. Hypothermia at the beginning. You'll be cold as hell. That's an oxymoron. But then when the hypothermia becomes significant, you don't shiver. You don't move. In fact, in surgery, that's why they bring patients down into hypothermic state. Everything slows down markedly. So he killed her? He killed Gabby because she was cold? That was planned, right? He didn't expect them to find her? What do you think? That family that was driving cross country and they videoed their trip and they saw the van. You think if not for that family, Gabby may not have been found. He wanted animals to tear him apart. Like, I guess he wanted animals to tear her apart, too. Both experts also found the story about Petito falling into shallow creek hard to believe. He writes this farcical tale about her falling down and getting injured while crossing Spread Creek, and describes how he couldn't leave her behind, calling it an attempt to rewrite history. Laundrie did leave her behind. He did leave her behind. I didn't want to leave her behind, so I killed her and left her behind. It's a mercy killing by strangling her on the spot instead of dragging her to the car and going for help makes no sense. I don't believe in all of this accident stuff because how can you say you love somebody so much you can't go on without her? You love her so much you're willing to commit suicide like a Romeo and Juliet. She's hurt, and you will not go and get help for her? And not only will you not go the extra mile, you will not even report her missing? Golly, Dr. Baden, who conducted more than 20,000 autopsies. Holy cow, man, that guy's got to have a... He's got to be weird to talk to. He said there's some information, though not much, pointing to signs of stomach hemorrhaging as a result of severe hypothermia. In general, hypothermia does not cause injuries that are easily found at autopsy, There's some information can be small hemorrhages in the stomach and very severe cold deaths, he explained. But that's in the weeds. That's the weeds of forensic pathology. Yeah, she probably had stomach hemorrhaging from crying. If Petito had been concussed, as Laundrie claimed to have feared, such an injury would not have been evident during the autopsy. Okay, yeah. We don't care about what was in the autopsy. To Kelly, let's see. One of these experts said that based on existing signs of domestic abuse, he believes it would have been intentional. If she had been hit in the head, it was by him. I don't think this was an accident. There's the park bench. That's down in Florida, where in like the area like Brian Laundrie lives in. Isn't that weird? Or lived in. Let's see here. He's been involved in some of the country's most high profile, including those involving JFK. John Benet Ramsey. Oh, yeah, good. 2 unsolved mysteries. Is that right? Oh, and Jeffrey Epstein. Another unsolved one. In any event, euthanasia is not legal in any state anywhere. Euthanasia is murder. Golly. That is... I want you guys to remember that. Euthanasia is murder. Remember that. There's going to come a time in your life you're going to have to remember that. You're going to have a loved one in a hospital, and you're going to say, euthanasia is murder. And you're going to watch somebody's eyes get real big. It's going to be a doctor. Because this is kind of like what I said. Aside from the limited details released regarding the autopsy, Laundrie's handwritten confession also sheds light on Gabby's last moments and this homicidal logic. Let's see here. That's the FBI office in Tampa. Yeah, he said he ended her life. He cannot admit he killed her. The truth is he killed her because he was a domestic abuser. He strangled her and had done so before. The fact was suggested on August 12th in Moab. Laundrie left her in the wilderness of Wyoming alone and drove home to Florida in her van, spending her money. Yeah, but that's the funny thing, is that he didn't need her money. Before he shot himself in the head in one of his favorite local parks, Laundrie went camping with his family, spent time with his nephews, and ignored Petito's parents as they desperately sought information on her whereabouts. That's a good point. One thing I give him credit for in this way is he decided to get eaten up by animals himself. In the end, it rang true. He wanted to disappear. He felt he was a nobody. Now, this person, I have to go back and see who Kelly is, but he felt like he was a nobody. That right there is a post-mortem damning statement, because these people... It's like a narcissistic trait or something. I don't know. But it's like serial killers have this, where it's like they don't see themselves as ever being guilty. And they want to be somebody, or they feel like they are somebody. And to say he was a nobody, man, that's awesome. That's just putting him in his place. So you have to think that somewhere he's paying for his crimes. And if you don't believe in hell, you should, because it is real. So, that said, this is it. Thank you for coming through. Please hit subscribe. Say a prayer for both the families. This is not good, guys. And I hope you guys are able to find closure. Let's put Gabby Petito behind us. I know I've got some more videos I have planned that I'd like to do. And just because I want to get all the raveled loose ends tied up. But put stuff like this behind you. And don't forget how bad the tubers were, how they treated his family. They're victims of this too. And you guys, we're not going to survive if we don't start sticking together and realizing that it's not each other. I mean, these people, it's like they're like sharks or piranhas. They're like piranhas, I guess. They smell a drop of blood and they go after them. That's not. Just don't be like that. All right, you know better than that. So, yeah. Listen, love you guys, really do. Be good. Do something fun, and forget about this. Don't let this cross your mind again and bring you any more sorrow. So, with that, Godspeed, everybody.